Shaggy and Scooby, it's time to go to work. We've got some investigating to do.
Right, Velma. What's the caper?
Yeah, what?
During the last couple of nights, there have been fires in 3 separate lockers at school.
We've heard about that.
Well, you know that I'm a reporter on the school newspaper. I've been assigned to cover the story. Meanwhile, Fred and Daphne are trying to sniff out some clues.
What about Scooby and me?
Yeah, what about us?
You two can help me with the story. I need to prepare my copy quickly to make the deadline.
What's copy?
What deadline?
You two don't know anything about newspapers, do you?
Just how to read them.
If we're going to crack this caper, I'd better give you two a few lessons in journalism. You need to know the ins and outs of newspapers.
Great. Where do we start? In or out?
Yeah, in or out?
Let me begin by saying that the news has always been important to people.
What exactly is news, Velma?
Yeah, tell us.
News is anything that interests readers or something they should be informed about.
That makes sense, but give me some details.
Readers are usually interested in one of 3 things: surprise, change, or excitement they can share.
And now that you mention it, that's right, you know.
People are interested in reading about themselves or something that affects them. They're also interested in reading about people they know. It's been said that the news is not as important as the reaction it has on its readers.
Oh, no.
Figures, size, and locality are in themselves important news ingredients.
Well, how does the guy who's in charge of a paper figure out what to include in the limited space he has to work with?
Many editors ask themselves 2 questions: what happened and how many people would like to read about it?
Well, I can see where news has to have drama and action and surprise, humor, mystery, adventure, or conflict.
Yes, and it should be important, urgent, informative, and interesting. The newness of the event also determines its news value. How prominent is the event? Is it a first? There are also elements which add emotional appeal. Wealth, poverty, oddities, children, famous people, and animals are examples.
Wealthy animals?
Velma, you've spent a lot of time telling us what kind of information goes into a newspaper. Is there anything a paper can't print?
Well, Shaggy, the federal and most state constitutions guarantee freedom of the press. There are some things, however, that cannot be printed.
Oh, like what?
For example, libel and slander laws protect people from unjust attacks in the press.
What's libel?
Libel is defined as anything written or spoken which tends to maliciously injure the reputation of another, expose him to public ridicule, contempt, or hatred, or to interfere with his earning of a living.
Well, what does a person who thinks he was libeled have to do?
The injured person does not have to prove that a printed statement is untrue. He must show that it has been published, that it agrees with the definition of libel, and that the statement identifies him.
Well, what about the writer?
The best defense is that the statement is true and that publishing it is in the public interest. There are also other legal defenses.
Sounds like a serious business to me.
Yeah, sure does.
You bet it is. There are a few more details to watch about libel.
Like what?
Leaving out the name of the person in a libelous article is no defense if the person is still identifiable. Headlines, pictures, and cartoons can be libelous just like a story. Even a letter to the editor which is libelous can get the writer and the paper in trouble.
Oh boy, it sounds like libel is something to steer clear of.
Yeah, steer clear.
You guys are absolutely right. Since truth is the best defense against libel, always report the news accurately and without prejudice.
Right, Velma. Always be honest and be fair. Is there anything else to watch out for?
Yes. A paper cannot print obscenity or pornography. Also, a paper cannot cause substantial disruption of the educational process. Invasion of privacy is also against the law. On a school newspaper, a reporter or photographer should double-check all stories and photos with the advisor.
Sounds like a good idea, Velma. Say, does it take a lot of people to run a newspaper?
The size of the staff depends on the size of the paper, its circulation, and how often it's published.
Well, how about a school paper?
Well, let me describe our staff so you can get an idea. Our editor is in charge. She makes all the assignments and decides on headlines and layouts. She final checks all copy and makes sure all departments are running smoothly. The main divisions of a paper are news, features, sports, and editorials. There's a person responsible for each of these areas. Of course, there are staff reporters and photographers who work on stories assigned to them. We have a librarian who files back issues of our paper, as well as biographical information and photographs. The library is referred to as the morgue. Our business manager is in charge of all the advertising that we have in the paper and handles circulation. The business manager should be familiar with bookkeeping.
When and where do you do your work?
Yeah, when and where?
We're lucky. The paper is part of our curriculum, so we work on it in a regular class. Some schools do it as an after-school project. Our workroom is used only for the paper. All we need is a work table, a couple of filing cabinets, a few typewriters with tables and chairs, a light table, and editing supplies.
Are we ready to tackle a story about the locker fires?
Well, I still think you need to learn a little bit more about the newspaper business. You've got to develop a nose for news.
Okay, but let's continue after I fill my stomach. My nose will work a lot better then, huh, Scoob?
Mine too.